Excellent, Bernie. Well, thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the experience. How did you find it?
Yeah, it was good. Like, it was really engaging. And I think it's good to speak to a room with some of the lessons that we have from F1 and try and bring little bits that they can learn or they can implement or they can start to sort of think about in day-to-day life or day-to-day work.
You unpacked so much in your presentation. If we were to just shine the light in maybe one area, what would you say is the biggest thing from F1 that transfers into the world of business and IT? What can we learn from it?
I think the biggest thing that I think most businesses or can learn is the analysis. If you can analyze the wins and the failures, analyze what went wrong the last time, analyze your competitors, whatever the case may be, what can you improve, and such a big thing in all of the world, but like if something's gone wrong, then what can you change? What procedure can you change? What piece of software can you implement? What is a change that needs to be done to make that better the next time?
You mentioned something really interesting there, and this really came over in your presentation. It's almost like it feels like for you, it's probably not an over-analysis, but the amount of time it seems that F1 and the teams spend what effectively is analysing failure is something I don't think we do enough of in the real world. How do you get good at that?
I think it is just about persevering. Like in F1, in many ways, it's easier because post-race, we have this gap almost set aside that we can go through what happened the week before. And actually, failure, you can't fail again and again and again and again, nor can business. You can't fail again and again and again. You have to improve, you have to get better because your next test is next week. Mm-hmm. So the quicker that you can analyze those things, the better. And it is about getting every department, every group, every little team to do their own bit of analysis on their own performance. And that's, if you've got a good enough team, that's how you should get the best answers to that analysis. Mm-hmm. And that's how that team will learn and grow the most.
It feels like being great in the moment is a large part of what actually distinguishes between success and failure in F1.
Yeah. So one of the things I think is that actually, because, again, to harp back at the analysis, because I've spent so much time going through what's gone wrong in the past, what's gone right in the past, why certain things have worked or not worked, and you've got that inbuilt knowledge of what potentially could happen. That's one aspect that makes those decisions easier. The preparation is everything. We spend a lot of time in the run up to a decision or an incident thinking about what would happen if. So although you've got a short period of time to make the final decision, you have done at least some of the conversation in advance of that decision even coming up. Now, that may feel like a lot of wasted preparation for a lot of people, but that means that when you're making that final decision, you feel like you're making it from a position of knowledge rather than just guesswork.
When you actually think about some of the things you were talking about in terms of marginal gains and what feels like just a plethora of data, could you just bring to life exactly how much data that you actually collect in a race weekend and kind of bring that to life in terms of then how do you sift through that data to find those insights?
Yeah, I think the difficulty with the data that we collect in a race weekend or in any track running is that it's always imperfect and there are so many much more variables. So you can never do a straight A/B test. That just doesn't exist, particularly in the real world for us, because so much of the environment is changing. So actually a lot of what F1 relies quite heavily on is being fit to database that data in a good enough way that you can align what's happening at individual times. So you're not just looking at what the difference in lap time was. You're fit to look at that with all of the other scope in the background. I don't have the exact number for how many sensors are on the car, how much data we collect, but it's huge. It far outweighs the time that you could spend looking at the data, far outweighs the time in the session. And actually, one of the most difficult things that we have is between, let's say, a P1 and a P2, there only is 3 to 4 hours. And that's not enough time to fully go through all of that. So some of the data sources that we have automated ways of, alerts when a temperature's too high or a pressure's too high. We've got people looking at those sorts of things live. And we've got certain algorithms we can run to check for anomalies and that sort of thing. But ultimately, it does come down to being very regimented and not looking at one piece of data, one test, very isolated from the rest of the system.
In terms of when you collect that data and then present it, we know one of our big key partners is AWS. We do a huge amount of work on unlocking the power of their Connect platform, engaging with customer experience and so on and so forth. How does their platform come into play in the world of F1?
I think the biggest thing that we have is having all of that data accessible easily in a very well documented way, so that you're not having to dig to find the answer. The answer is there available for you, nicely marked up and aligned in a very neat way. That's very powerful, because as soon as you really need to dig into it to find the piece of data you're looking for, people will naturally become lazy and not look for that missing piece of information. So it is about having the catalogue of data there, if you like, available in a very nicely catalogued way.
Mm-hmm. We have talked a little bit about AI and machine learning, as you would clearly expect us to do here today. What does the future look like for those sort of new technologies within F1?
So I think like versions of AI and machine learning in particular have been used in F1 for quite a while. From a strategy point of view, we use machine learning when we look at strategies on a Friday or Saturday night. We try and predict what we think others may do in certain situations. So a lot of that is happening. We also use sort of like massive simulations to try and come up with the correct car setup, because there's so many variables and where you can go. So you're trying to find, the local optimums there. The big step forward, I think, for me in AI is going to come when, as a strategist, the chess game is playing back. So you can ask for your move and it's going to predict, in an intelligent way, the moves of others, in terms of predicting what the driver's likely to do, predicting teams who won't do the correct thing or the most obvious thing, but will do something slightly different based on who their strategist is in the pit wall or based on recent analysis of what they've done. So to have that proper, chess style computer game is going to be really interesting from pit wall side.
One of the CIOs earlier mentioned the whole concept. He's saying it's important to be a geek. It's important, especially in our industry, to look forward, what's coming next. And the one sort of superpower, if you like, skill that he felt was really important was that of curiosity and always remaining curious. Does that resonate with you, and why?
100%. So for us, we never look at a race and think there's nothing that could have been done better. We're always looking at decisions others made, why they made decisions. We're always almost paranoid that they know something or doing something better than we are doing. So we spend a lot of our time probably investigating someone not doing something not much different to us, but in many ways coming up with what are, if we could get it to work like this, what would that look like? And I seem to spend most of my F1 life writing a list of things I would like to do if I had more time, be that a piece of software, a tool, a database, some investigation into how temperatures affected wet weather tires, whatever the case may be. I seemed to have loads of lists of what the next investigation would be. And you need to keep driving that, because it keeps your people interested, because they're working on something new, and it will help to push the whole team forward.
Being good together is something that's massively important to us, and it really kind of is, if you like, is our North Star. What we mean by that is being good together with our customers, but also our internal customers as well. When we think about how we come together as teams and stuff like that, it just feels like that really resonates as well in the world of F1, especially when you think about that world record pit stop. You wouldn't have done that unless you'd been good together. So what do you think are the key ingredients of being good together?
Well, I think there's a few things that go into that. Is part of it, we're forced to be good together. We're spending 23, 24 races together, so you need to get along. But in comms, in the heated comms on the pit wall, communication is key, and communication is often difficult because you've got multiple languages going on, you've got multiple preconceptions of what might happen. So it is about having everyone pretty aligned and pretty open to the opinions of others. One of the things is trusting your experts. So if you have someone who is expert in their field, there's the voice that should shout the loudest, regardless of their hierarchy or seniority in the team. And it is about trying to bring all those ideas together. The comms is so crucial. And then I think one of the biggest is reviewing it honestly. I mean, the amount of times that I've gone through radio comms that I've said and others, and then realized, oh, wasn't quite strong enough in that, or I didn't quite say whatever it was the way I meant to, or I can understand how that was misunderstood. Like, how many people look at their Zoom meeting and go, oh, I maybe should have said that a little bit differently. And that's effectively what we're doing in F1.
My last question. So we, as part of our you could say our new brand image, okay, part obviously really minding that whole good together piece as well. We have a new family member, and it's a purple dog, and we're running a competition to name it. So I'm going to ask you what your contribution is to it. So
it's a purple dog.
It's a purple dog. So what would you name the Gamma purple dog?
So I'm going to go, this is going to be really off piste, and I'm going to give the reason for it. So I would name it Dave.
Right? You don't know how funny that is.
because recently we took on, we've been fostering guide dogs.
Yeah.
And we had a black field guide dog called Dave. And there is nothing funnier than running through the park going, Dave. It's like this really normal name.
Yeah.
So I would name something like that.
Well, there you go, Dave. There you go. There's the name of the dog. So look, I think it's just to say thank you very much. We've loved having you with us here today. Yeah, we wish you all the best. You know, good luck with the book launch. You know, we're looking forward to getting that in the hands of our customers. And you're welcome in the Gamma family anytime. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having us. I look forward to meeting Dave.